We now move on to factorising quadratics. Now quadratic, we've come across linear where the highest power is 1. Quadratic is an expression where the highest power is equal to 2. So that's what a quadratic is. We've got an expression that has the highest power. Power is an index of 2. Let's just look at a simple one first. And if we look at, say, 6p squared minus 8p, and you're asked to factorise that. Okay, it's a quadratic. We're going to use the backwards of the distributive law, if you like. This is our answer. We're going back to find what the factors are, so we're going to have some brackets involved. We've got highest power, as I say, of 2, so we've got a quadratic. We could start by writing down the factors of 6p squared, and that's equal to now the prime factorisation of 6 is 2 times 3, both of those are prime numbers, times p times p. Now 8p is 2 times 2 times 2 is the prime factorisation of 8, and then times p. And we say, righto, we want the HCF, the highest common factor of 6p squared and 8p. And we scan through here, and we say, okay, we've got a factor of 2 that's common. So we've got 2 that's common there. There's no 3's down here, so they're not in common. And then we've got just 1p that's common, not 2. There's 2 p's up here, but there's only 1p. So 2 times p is common in both of those. So 2p is the highest common factor. So that's going to be what goes out the front of our brackets. 2p outside of the minus goes in the middle. And now we ask ourselves the famous question, what have we got to multiply 2p by to get 6p squared? Well, first of all, look at the numbers. What are we going to multiply 2 by to get 6 will be 3. And what are we going to multiply p by to get p squared will be just p. So just check that 2p times 3p is 6p squared. Then we leave that first one alone, then we go back and we're going to look at this one here. What have we got to multiply 2p by to get 8p? Well, we're going to multiply 2 by to get 8, which is 4. And we'll have 2p times 4, which will give us 8p. So there's a factorisation of a simple quadratic. And I just prepared a more complicated one here before. And we want to factorise where we've got 3 terms. And what do I do? 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Now we can't use this is backwards of a FOIL. We've got our answer and we've got to go back to the 2 sets of brackets. So that's going to be something times something, and there are going to be 2 terms there and 2 terms there. And there's no simple, like we've done up here with highest common factors. That's not going to work here. So we have to come up with another method. Now, there's numerous methods, but I'm just going to show you one method that I am quite fond of and that I still use for doing factorisation of quadratics. And that is by putting down a cross to remind us that there's a multiplication going on between those 2 brackets. And I say, righto, I want 2 factors of 2x squared, and I'm going to put 1 factor here, 1 factor there. Now both of these factors have to contain an x if we're going to get an x squared. I know you could put 2 up here and x squared down there, but the rules of this method is that it has to contain at least 1 x on each. So if I put 2x up there and x there, when I multiply along there, I'm going to get 2x squared. along these two, so this gives us, multiplying gives us the first term. These two multiplied together give me the last term. Now there is two ways I could put, the only factors of 3 are 3 times 1, but I could put the 3 and the 1 there, or the 1 and the 3 there. Okay, let's try with the 1 here and the 3 there. Now the factors of plus 3 are plus 1 and plus 3, or it could be minus 1 and minus 3. Minus 1 times minus 3 still gives us a plus 3. Now, which one is it? We need to decide. So, to get the middle term, we multiply along the diagonals. Now, if we multiply along that diagonal, we get negative 1x. And we multiply along this diagonal, we get negative 6x. You always add those two together, and we get negative 7x. Now that is not the middle term. We've got to get a plus 5x by doing that. Now, hopefully you can see that if I change these around and put a negative and a negative 1 down here, we're still not going to get a positive out of that. So it looks like the negatives aren't going to work. So then it means that I'm going to have to try the two positives, so plus 1x and plus 3x. Once again, I multiply along there, I get plus 1x. I multiply along there, I get plus 6x. And I get a plus 7x. Boom, boom. Still not going to get me my plus 5x. So it's a bit of guess and check, but the more of these you do, the more intuitive you get as to which way it could be. So that's not going to be the right way. So the only thing I haven't really tried is plus 3 up there and plus 1 there. Now if I multiply along this branch of the cross, I get plus 3x. Multiply along that branch, 2x times plus 1 is plus 2x. You always add these two together, and adding those two, plus 5x, which is the middle term up here. So that is the correct factorisation and placement of the factors. And so all I do is put a bracket around that and a bracket around that, and I can write out 2x plus 3 and x plus 1. To double check your answer, we could use FOIL, and 2x times x is 2x squared, outer plus 2x, inner plus 3x, last plus 3. And that is equal to 2x squared, 2x plus 3x is plus 5x plus 3, which is where I started. So we've actually worked back to get the initial quadratic. So using the cross method is the way that I like to teach as far as factorisation of quadratics. Just going through it again, you've got to do a little bit of guess and checking, draw a cross. These two multiplied together have got to give us my first term. These two, when multiplied together, have got to give us our last term. If this is positive, means these two signs are the same, so they're either both positive or both negative. If these are negative, it means we've got a positive and a negative multiplied together. So when I multiply along, doesn't matter which arm you do first, this arm, multiply it out, this arm, multiply it out, add those two together, you should get the middle term, and then you should try finally and check your answer by actually using FOIL when you multiply out the factors and get back to what you started with.